a standard World War II Willys MB. It's a 1944 and the markings are 1944 D-Day. Obviously most people know that by the invasion star, and the numbers on the bumpers and bumperettes and jerry can all match the ones of a famous photo taken of the Americans driving down the Champs-Élysées on the liberation of Paris. So this vehicle has just a few modifications. It is my wife's Jeep. She is French, so the name is Solange, that's her French name. And there's a couple little things just to make it better. It does have indicators, it does have freewheeling hubs, and it's been converted to 12 volt just for the Jeep Police. But other than that, everything else is stock. Did you know that Willys also built a 6-wheel drive? Only 15 of them were built, 7 survived, and this one has just been restored by myself for my clients in Mississippi. That'd be Joan and Dana Smith. Came to me and asked if I could restore this very rare tug, and that was quite an experience to do it. As you can see from the two vehicles, there's only really one part that's interchangeable, is the grille. Even the hoods are different on the inside. Fenders are different. This is wider. It's nearly 3 feet longer. It is a true 6-wheel drive. We have done a couple of things that are not stock on it. That is the client's wishes. One was an extra mirror so we can see because it's very long. The other was a canvas top so as he can drive it in parades because it's pretty hot in Mississippi. The top I fabricated all the brackets for it and basically copied the standard World War II, but it's just obviously wider. I had to make all the bed rails and the supporting braces for it and the tailgate, but this vehicle is a very original vehicle. My client's father and father-in-law purchased this in 1946 from the army, and it was used up to 1997. 2 years before he died in 99. With the lifting rings and the Marine Corps hooks is standard, and has the standard blackout light. The fenders are longer, but the steering column is outside of the frame now, and the pedals come up through the floor in a completely different way. It has a telescopic steering column and a steering wheel that when we undo this brace here and turn it up, we can push this column down and then drop the steering wheel. So I think it was for ease of loading, but I'm not quite positive. I'm no expert on a tug. This was a learning experience for me. The fuel tank is in this box here. The emergency brake is down here. Your normal high and low range, this would be 6-wheel drive, transfer case. This is the gear stick here. It's a T84, but it's a side shift. They had to remove the horn to this little button here, and then these are electric brakes, and as you pull this lever back you increase the resistance. But there's also a rheostat on the dash which goes from light, medium, heavy depending on the load. The instruments are the same as the standard World War II vehicles, with your blackout drive light, your panel lights, your choke, your throttle, your ignition, and of course this is a floor starter, same as an MB, but it's on the dash, and I can tell you it's pretty hard to push that to get it to start. Then the pedals swing down and these pieces do come off afterwards. So the little holes are left with the grommets for the side curtains, so that'll be getting fitted up next. And we have to have some door straps made because the standard World War II obviously don't fit that dimension. But the stake pockets and everything else on this is original. Little toolboxes in the side. You turn up this little key. Well, it's not even a key, but it will take a padlock, and this lifts up. But you can see there's not much in there, just the tail lights and the wiring. Most of that wiring, it does go to a standard World War II wiring socket. And then the pintle hook is different. It swivels and it has a giant spring behind it. The tailgate is quite unique, very awkward to undo, but that's how stuff was done back in the day. Pull that down, push these like that, and it's open. You'll see that there's 6 holes drilled in the body tub and one big hole there. So that was for a 5th wheel hitch, and then the wiring came up through that little hole there with a plug in it. The tops of these could have troop carrier seats on. I've seen pictures of that. These were severely damaged because, as I said, this vehicle was used in construction right up to 97 in a mobile park, moving around caravans and things. So, standard World War II lights, standard World War II reflectors, and another toolbox on the right hand side. Sorry. Very unique suspension for the rear with the twin leaves, panhard bars, true 6-wheel drive. The back 4 are turning all the time. The difference was Willys decided to lower the diff ratio from 488, which is stock World War II, to 5.3, which is sort of like after the war they had that as well, just because of the weight, I think, and clutch wouldn't last long in this. The standard fire extinguisher is up in the passenger side under here, and your data tags, you have 2 on this side and the shifting one is on the other side. As I've said, we added an extra mirror this side because this vehicle's difficult to see out of. You will notice that the cushions sit right on the floor. Nothing there at all, just a zippered cushion. These do fold forward, but completely different to the standard Willys. Had the twin wipers, that was stock, but as you can see, the windshield is so much shorter than the standard Willys, and it's longer. So even the rubbers, I had to custom make the rubber, especially for the windshields. But these are 2 standard ones joined together. You'll also notice that the hinge on the top here is huge, and it's on the outside of the cowl as opposed to a World War II Willys. And then they had those little safety chains right here on this little clip to stop you losing things. This vehicle was produced by Willys Overland. I'm sure that they were trying to get contracts for a 6-wheel drive, but you know, Dodge already had a 6-wheel drive 3/4 ton with a bigger engine, and Willys built these tugs that would tow a 5th wheel. We have historic photos of different incarnations of this vehicle, but we put this right back to stock how it was. It was a very hard vehicle for me to restore since I never pulled it apart, which really makes it difficult doing a restoration. My client pulled it apart, but he did take some good photos and a few photos from other guys that are restored. But a lot of it is typical military at the time, you know, just making the harness longer and figuring out the harnesses for the different things that were added to it, just using vintage wiring and schematics. Bodywork obviously is bodywork, it doesn't matter how big the vehicle is. Chassis work is the same, mechanical is the same, but all the little details are like which clips and which colours and how did this fit in there and where did this go, and you know, we were missing parts, so my client got a lot of information for me and photos, and that's how I reproduced the bed rails and the pieces missing in the back. But I was pretty lucky. This vehicle was rust free because it was inside, except for under the seat cushions, which we showed you earlier, would hold water, and the pans were gone. So that's about the only metalwork, other than severe amounts of dings and dents and abuse of 30 years of being used with no consideration of its rarity. But I've enjoyed doing it. I hope my client enjoys it. I hope he enjoys going on parades with it. And it's another one for the Jeep world. It's going to be shown later this year at the MVPA. So if you want to see it in person, it will be at the MVPA this year. And I must say, this book here, Rare World War II Jeep by Mark Askew, has a lot of pictures in it which would help me out. So other than that, thank you so much for coming and videoing it and giving it to people to have a look at. I hope they enjoy it.